Yo, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Rock Fantasy Files on the Rock Fantasy YouTube channel. I hope everybody's had a good week. And we are back. We're switching gears again this week. And tonight we set the time machine to 1987. This is an idea that Obie kind of gave us. So Obie is the center square tonight on the show. So we're going to take a visit to Germany and delve into the world of thrash metal and discuss three albums that are celebrating their 35th anniversaries in 2022, with Kreator's third studio album, Terrible Certainty, going up against these two titans of Teutonic thrash albums, I guess, if you want to say, Destruction's third studio album, released From Agony, and Sodom's second studio album, Persecution Mania. So we gathered an all-star guest. We got some of the regulars here. We got Miles Bergeron from Miles of Metal. We got Andrew Gabriel, one of my local customers here at the brick and mortar shop. Of course, we got Count Ralphus, and he's got his props ready to rock behind him. We got Obie Rednon from Norway. He just went to see the Scorpions, actually, and he just got home. It's 2 a.m. in Norway as we film. We got Tony Dio from North Carolina, and we got Ed Farsley from Armageddon Fest 7, which is going to be going on in 2 weeks. We'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the episode. And we've got we have an actual German on the show tonight. We've got Hansi Hilmer from Filthhound. And Hansi, actually, we're going to let you go first because you do have to hop off, and we are going to loop around and ask you the one question at the end. But let's start it off. And what's your take on these three albums and a couple songs from each? We'll start off with Kreator. We'll go to Sodom, and we'll round off with Destruction on everybody's turn. And welcome, everyone.
All right, well, thank you. That's a tough one. I mean, all three of these bands are, I got to be careful. They're all really good friends of mine. I've known them since we were kids, actually. And every one of them. And I have to go, I mean, for me, obviously, Kreator, Terrible Certainty, great album. The two songs that come in mind for me are Storming with Menace and Behind the Mirror. Those are two of my favorite songs on that record. I have to say, so this is not my favorite Kreator album. I think I like Pleasure to Kill a little bit better, the album before. And then also Extreme Aggression, the album after. It's probably one of my favorite Kreator albums of all time, if not my favorite Kreator album right there. So this is really easy for me on this one. Great album, great lineup. They were in the heyday at the time. I think it was their first US tour at the time as well, with Raven and all that, and great. But, like I said, not my favorite Kreator album, but how can you not like any Kreator? It doesn't, I mean, they're all great, but that's about that for me on this album, man.
Cool. And I'm going to see what we're going to just keep right with you, and we're going to talk to you about all three of the albums. We're just going to go around once and then go around at the very end and pick what album we would pick as our favorite, what we would have if we only had money to buy one. So
yeah,
tell us about Sodom.
Well, hello. So again, Sodom, these guys, I've known them before they were even in the band, actually. But Persecution Mania to me is the epitome of Sodom for me. Frank Blackfire came into the band to play guitar and just absolutely changed sound. I mean, I love Obsessed by Cruelty, the album before, obviously, but I think that Sodom really stepped up the game with this. Music Lab in Berlin did a great job on this album, and I think it's just something that really changed metal at the time, I believe. And I mean, this album is untouchable, other than, I have to say this, I'm gonna get my butt kicked for this, but Iron Fist, Motorhead, not my favorite cover, and they should have left that off the album. I'm sorry, that would have been a fun B-side on a single or something, but I can't friend myself with that cover. I know Thomas is a huge Lemmy and Motorhead fan, but they should have just left that off the album because the rest of that album is perfect, absolutely perfect. I mean, just to go for the songs, Christ Passion. I mean, come on, Bombenhagel. You know, even so, I have to say this. You know, a lot of people always gave Sodom crap for this. You know, the song Bombenhagel. They're like, oh yeah, you like Nazis. You know, you're right wing. And let me tell you, I know these guys better than you think. Then they're far, far away from being even closely to be, because we were all back then against Nazis and we were fighting Nazis on the streets, man, in Germany. You know, so yeah, that was just, you know, for them to be an anti-war song, actually. You know, and if you listen to the lyrics and translate them right, it actually makes sense. But also on this album, let's not forget Nuclear Winter, who is one of my absolute favorite Sodom tracks of all time. I mean, you know, that album to me is just essential. And 1987 was a great year, by the way, for all kinds of German thrash or just thrash in general, you know. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours about Persecution Mania. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. So, anyway, that's all I have for Persecution Mania.
And I guess I forgot to ask everyone, but we usually give a rating of 1 to 10 for each album.
Okay. So in that case, I give Kreator Terrible Certainty a strong 7.
Okay.
I go, well, Persecution Mania 10. I got nothing. There's nothing. Now if I go to the third album, to go to Destruction's Release From Agony, to talk a little shortly about this. Again, you know, Schmier, I hope, please forgive me. Not my favorite Destruction album, to be quite honest. I like Eternal Devastation a little bit better. And, you know, I think Destruction had a tough time on this album. Unconscious Ruins and Dissatisfied Existence, great songs, but there is a lot of doodling on this album for me, what I call it. It's like you know, with the new guitarist in the band and everything, there was a lot of, they were trying to be really, really technical, and for me, they just lost a little bit of that rawness and about you know, that dirty street rawness that Destruction always had. You know, and I believe shortly after this album, isn't that when Schmier actually left the band? And I think that was before Cracked Brain came out, right? In 1990. Yeah. So again, you know, I love the album. It's a great record. I actually have this vintage back patch on my vest. So you know, I can't say I hate the album, obviously, when I wear the back patch, but again, it's, you know, not my favorite Destruction album, but, you know, they did step it up quite a bit, and they got very technical and very, you know, high tech on this album. I would give it also a very strong 7.
Okay. And you know what? While we're doing this tonight, I think maybe we'll just ask that question and just go around once, and anybody wants to have a closing statement. So I guess you've kind of answered the question already. So if you're in 1987 or even nowadays, if you're walking into the record shop and only have money to buy one record, which record are you taking
home? It'd be Persecution Mania, because it's also the most rarest one of those three to find on vinyl.
Yeah.
Right, but no, absolutely. If you would have brought up different years and said Pleasure to Kill by Kreator, you know, or, you know, even Sentence of Death, you know, the first EP of Destruction, I would have had a really tough time to decide. But, you know, in this case, 87, I think Sodom Persecution Mania definitely stepped up from Obsessed by Cruelty and really, really opened a whole new game for thrash in general. And I think this album was also the first album for Sodom that actually placed in the German charts, believe it or not. So, you know, anyway, but yeah, like I said, it's tough for me. These are all really good friends of mine, and I'm sure they're going to watch this and listen to it. Oh, I'm sure they will. you know, and I gotta be always on my best behavior and not going to be, you know, too rough on that. But they know what I'm talking about. I have told them in private, I'm sure.
Mhm. Well, it's a pleasure having you on, and we'll wrap up at the very end, and I want to talk to you and see what's going on with your band, and
You
we'll
got it.
talk about that at the very end.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, so who are we gonna go to next? How about we switch it over to Mr. Tony Dio?
Hey
Evening.
guys, yeah, this was a definitely a tough one to pick. They're all great albums. We're gonna start out with Kreator.
Yeah.
Terrible Certainty. This album cover is just striking. I love it. It was great. This is the first Kreator record I ever purchased, and this album cover sold me on it. Love the back cover too. The artist's name was Phil Levere. He did most of their album covers in the early days. But I love the back. I used to have a T-shirt with the Kreator dude like that with the leather jacket and all on the front.
Yeah.
Similar to that one. Yeah, it was actually the full body print on it or whatever. But love this record. I guess my favorite three from this one are the title track, Terrible Certainty. Great riff on that one. I love As the World Burns and Toxic Trace definitely as well. That was a cool video too. I think that was the first music video I believe I saw from Kreator. We'll move on to Sodom, to Persecution Mania. This is definitely my favorite Sodom record as well. Second Sodom record I ever purchased, actually the first one was Mortal Way of Live. I think I picked that up in the cutout bin with that, and it was on cassette, and you had to flip the cover around because it had that painting of Sodom and Gomorrah or whatever, and they wouldn't put it on the front, so the cover was like inside out and you had to flip it around, you know. And but a lot of the songs or live versions from the Persecution Mania were included on the live album there. Love Nuclear Winter for one. Love pretty much Price Passion. I guess that would be one of my favorites as well. And Conjuration. Conjuration, when we were talking about the Motorhead cover, I love their cover of Iron Fist. And I think they have a very Motorhead influence in it because like the Conjuration and on how do you say Bomberger Hagel, whatever. That kind of reminds me of the punky Motorhead stuff, you know. But it's a great album all the way through. I didn't give my rating, but for Kreator, I'd say I'd give it an 8, and I got to give Sodom an 8 as well. Destruction, released From Agony. Not one of my favorites from Destruction. I love the first two albums. The thing that really got me into Destruction also came out in 1987 was the Mad Butcher EP. And this was the first one I got. And this is another one the cover pretty much sold me on it. And I love the EP. They got a cover of Plasmatics, The Damned on it, which is really cool. But there's some cool songs on this that I do like. I thought the title track, Release From Agony, is really good. And Our Oppression and Survive to Die, I think the last two tracks are probably my favorite ones that are on it. And I would give it a 6. It's a good album. It's just not as good as those first two albums to me in that EP. So I would give it a 6 for sure. And if I had to pick one, if I went in the store, it's a good toss up between the Sodom and the Kreator. I would go with the Kreator. I think both have great album covers, but that Kreator cover would be the one that I would just gravitate to, and that's what I would buy if I had to pick just one.
If you hadn't heard it going in, that was the one.
If I hadn't heard them either one.
Back in the day.
But back in the day, we went in and we looked at album covers a lot of times, and that's the way, you know, we couldn't pull our phone out and go, let's see what this sounds like we can nowadays. We didn't have that luxury. But I bought so many albums over the years back in the day, you know, just from the album covers alone.
Yeah.
And most of the time they were good. You know, there were a few stinkers in there as well.
Especially someone my age, that happened a lot. It's like you went to the record store with some money in your pocket and like, it's a badass cover. Sometimes you get home and it kick your ass, and sometimes you're like, man.
Well, it was even
try to sell it to your friend very quick.
In the 70s, you get a band shot of the band. It looked like a hard rock band. You get home and it sounded like, you know, like a pop band or something, you know.
Yeah. Anyhow, we're gonna switch generations and we're gonna go to the youngest guy here in our panel tonight. We're gonna go over to Andrew Gabriel. it's always nice to have a young perspective of
else for today, if that's okay with you.
what's that?
I would like to let everyone else go because
You want to go last?
yeah, that's fine with me.
All right, you're gonna go right before me then. How's that? All right, all right. So who did I have next in line? I had Ed Farsley.
Hey,
So we're gonna go to Ed's next. Andrew wasn't ready, so he wants to soak it in all and see what we got to say first.
Smart move.
well, 1987 in general was one hell of a year for thrash. German thrash was on point. There was so many great bands, so many albums. These 3 albums are definitely 3 of the best. Best bands anyway. Not necessarily the best. Well, 2 of the best albums. The third one, not so much. Out of the 3, Kreator Terrible Certainty. Absolutely flawless record. Kreator were just on fire at that point. Yes, it was their first US tour, so I finally got to see them live. They even got to do a video for Toxic Trace, which at the time was a big deal. And the album from start to finish is just fantastic. It's just brutal as hell. From the opening riffs to the end, it's just a perfect record. Personally, I do like Pleasure to Kill and Endless Pain more, but Terrible Certainty is still fantastic. And with the addition of Frank Blackflyer, they really turned up the musicianship. Just dual guitars and just brutal riffing throughout. What can I say? As far as songs, every song is great. Blind Faith just kicks off the album in a brutal way. And side 2, all 4 songs, it's like the perfect album side. Starting with Toxic Trace and ending with Behind the Mirror, it's just the perfect medley. As far as the best songs, Blind Faith, No Escape, Behind the Mirror. But every song kicks ass. Rating 10 plus. Just a fantastic record. Sodom Persecution Mania, another brilliant record. Sodom had really come into their own now. They were kind of, they were a fantastic band with In the Sign of Evil and Obsessed by Cruelty, but not the most musical, not the most technical. They got a lot of shit for that being, not being able to play that well, very untight, but brutal as hell. By this album, they stepped it up in a major way. Got the musicianship down, got the writing down, and really dialed in their sound that would be their signature sound to this day. This is the beginning of the real Sodom, and it's just a fantastic record in every way. As far as songs, Christ Passion, Persecution Mania, Nuclear Winter is just one of the best Sodom songs ever. And I gotta say, I do like the Iron Fist cover also. Not the best cover in the world, and I do agree that should have been saved for a B-side. That would have made much more sense and left a little more room for another new Sodom, a new original Sodom song. But still a great record. Rating 8.5, 8.5. Destruction, on the other hand, Release From Agony is a good record. It was the last good record they did after putting out some fucking great records, Sentence to Death, Infernal Overkill, absolute classics, flawless in every way. Basically, by Release From Agony, they had kind of slagged off. They had gotten more melodic, gotten a little more technical, a little more, and pretty much losing the intensity and the aggression that they had in their early material. Which is unfortunate because some of the songs aren't bad. They just went into a lot more of like the guitar wailing and just they lost the aggression. As far as songs, Survive to Die, Sign of Fear. I always like Sign of Fear. Great beginning, heavy riffing. That's probably the best song on the album. And of course, the title track, Release From Agony. Good song. Not a great song, but a good song. Same with the album. I'd give it a 5. If I went into a record store, Terrible Certainty. Absolutely. I'd buy that. Tell everyone to buy that record.
Cool. Thanks, Ed.
No, you're welcome.
And we'll wrap back at the end. We'll talk a little bit about this big event you got coming up in a week or so.
All right.
Cool. Now we're going to head down to Louisiana and talk to Mr. Miles, the man that's been known to throw down and wrestle an alligator. You never know.
Yeah. So originally I thought I had coming in with these 3 albums. I thought that I had a clear winner after, not before going in and listening to the albums again, but going back and listening to these 3 albums, it was really closer than I really thought. But starting off with Terrible Certainty, great fucking album. The album is fucking awesome. 3 songs that I would probably pick off of here: Blind Faith, As the World Burns, and Toxic Trace. Great album. I think I like Pleasure to Kill a little bit more, but I'm gonna say this, that this album and the other album that I'm gonna be talking about next, I thought that one album was gonna be the clear-cut winner, but this one, going back and listening to it, I was like, it's a little bit closer than I thought, because this album really does it kills. It's an awesome record. So the next album is Persecution Mania. I freaking love this album. One of my favorite Sodom albums, and Sodom has so many good albums in my opinion. And for a long time, this was probably my favorite Sodom album, but there's a couple of other albums I'd probably pick over this one now, but this is still a freaking classic killer album. 3 songs. Whew, this was a hard one to pick 3, but I would go Nuclear Winter. I would go Christ Passion. And if I'm not even ranking these, I'm just saying these are 3 songs that I like, but I'm gonna go Enchanted Land, because I always did like Enchanted Land also. And I also do like Procession to Golgotha, that little interlude. I think it's just so creepy. And like everybody said, and I thought I was gonna be the only one to say it, but the Iron Fist cover, it's not a bad cover at all, but I was with y'all. I think it should have been a B-side. If anything, maybe it could have been the last track on the album, just not the 3rd one. Because when I listen to this album, that's the only thing is I rather the Motorhead version, but just coming in at track 3, it kind of takes me out of the album just a little bit, but it's still a good cover. It's listenable. And Kreator, Destructions. This album, I would say out of the 3 albums, Released from Agony is probably my least favorite out of the 3. Not that it's a bad album whatsoever. I used to like the technical stuff in this album a lot, but going back and listening to these 3 albums during this week, I must have been like in a heavy thrash mood, because really when I would go and listen to Release from Agony, I would just go through the motions with listening to it. Not that they have bad songs on it, but it's just, I don't know, something about the production for me. It sounded like the vocals were a little bit up in the mix and the guitars were a little bit more lower in the mix, in my personal opinion. But 3 songs that I would say I like off this album is the title track. I like the song Sign of Fear. That was a good song off this record. And Survive to Die was a good song off this record. If I had to rate these albums, Kreator, definitely giving that an 8 out of 10. Sodom, I'm going to give that one a 9 out of 10. And Destruction, Released from Agony, I would give that a 6 out of 10. All 3 are great albums, but in my personal opinion, I'm gonna go with Sodom Persecution Mania, just because that, I have so much love for that album, but Kreator almost took that one over, because that album, I was just like, man, it was closer than I originally thought it would be. So yeah, but if I had to stick with it, it would be Persecution Mania by Sodom.
Okay. Sodom gets 2 votes, and 2 votes, and Kreator gets 2 votes so far. Then we're going to head over to our local metal historian, I call him, because he's always got the coolest props every time he comes on. We got Count Ralphus down in there.
Hey, all right. So with Kreator, twice I heard you saw some people saying that they said that this was their first US tour, but I'm pretty sure on Pleasure to Kill they came around with Voivod. I didn't go, but I'm pretty sure that they toured for Pleasure to Kill.
That was in '86. That was right before this came out.
Oh, so yeah, it was still the Pleasure to Kill tour, though, right? Or
not really. It was much later after Pleasure to Kill, so they were pretty much pushing this album. It was already recorded.
I seen when Terrible Certainty came out, I seen Kreator open up for DRI at L'Amour's.
Yep.
And I have this vintage shirt, and I have the one that Tony was talking about with the full body. I forgot to pull that one out, but got my original vinyl and the CD.
Yeah.
So I love this album, such a vicious album. I always kind of tie it with Pleasure to Kill as my favorite Kreator album. So I'm gonna go with Toxic Trace as number 3, Terrible Certainty, the title track, for number 2, and Blind Faith for number 1. I give this album a 10. I love this album. I've seen Kreator so many times throughout the years. Such a classic band. For Sodom, I got my original vinyl.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Need to send that to me.
What's that? Oh,
Need to send that to me.
got the vintage promo poster behind me. Up
Wow.
there, the vintage poster. So the CD comes with my second favorite EP of all time, Expressive Sodomy. If you had, I won't include any of the songs because they're not on the original vinyl, but those 3 songs would probably be my top 3 for this if I had to include them. Yeah, Haunting the Chapel's my original my favorite EP of all time. But so yeah, I'm gonna go with the intro, Procession of Golgotha into Christ Passion for number 3, Enchanted Land for number 2. It's so fucking heavy. And number 1, Nuclear Winter, such a fucking classic. Again, I'm giving this a 10. This is it's my favorite Sodom album of all time. Blackfire bringing them to a new level. And then skipping down to Destruction, got the original cassette, and my original vinyl's actually in a frame. I got Mike and Schmear autographed it.
Nice.
Awesome.
I got all my Destruction albums signed when they came to the chance, and I've seen Destruction for the first time on this tour, but the Life Without Sense album came out, and it was like them and Cro-Mags were touring. I seen them twice on that tour. Another great album. It's not my favorite Destruction. Eternal Devastation is, and I like Infernal Overkill better. But Release From Agony number 3, and then tied for number 2, Sign of Fear with Incriminated, and number 1, Unconscious Ruins. I give this album a 10 too, even though it's not my favorite. I think they're such great albums. It's a lot cleaner sounding than the earlier albums, and there's a lot more guitar and stuff, but I just love it. It's their first time as a 4-piece, but I think it really was great. It's, you know, a little bit more cleaned up, but it's still, to me, it was the last really great album by them. And if I put like the first 4 releases from all 3 of these bands, I would go with Destruction probably as my favorite. But having to pick one out of these 3, I'd have to go with Persecution Mania. It's the meatiest one, the loud Angel Ripper's bass. And as far as the Motorhead cover, I get what everybody's saying, but to me, it's the best Motorhead cover of all time, even though it didn't really help the album much. But as far as Motorhead covers, I can't think of a better one by anybody. And so, yeah, Sodom's got the win for me.
Cool. Very cool. And who do we got left? I guess Andrew doesn't ready to go yet, so we're going to have Obie join us from Norway and get another European perspective on this. And this was Obie's idea a few weeks ago. Kind of planted this idea of doing a German thrash episode, something that was celebrating anniversaries per se. Thanks.
Yeah, the German thrash is the hardest thrash in the world, if you ask me. There's no harder thrash metal than German thrash metal. As for Kreator, as everybody is saying, Pleasure to Kill is, yeah, that's the milestone of all milestones, really. That sound. But Terrible Certainty, I feel, is quite different from Pleasure to Kill. It's kind of night and day, really. We compare to sound, to the songs, to everything, really. As for songs, I go for Storming with Madness, number 3, As World Burns, number 2, and One of Us. That's number one. I just love that One of Us. It's my favorite track. Rating for Terrible Certainty, I guess I like the two first album more, so I will give it a 7 out of 10. For Sodom, I like Obsessed by Cruelty best. And the interesting thing about Obsessed by Cruelty is that it was rejected by the label, the first recording. But by a mistake, for the US market, they got the killer version of Obsessed by Cruelty, not the clean version that we got here in Europe. But Persecution Mania, just love the artwork. I love the sound. It's really something else. I'm personally like Obsessed by Cruelty the most because it's just, I'm Norwegian. It's the origin for black metal. It's like it has a special place in the heart, Obsessed by Cruelty. But Persecution Mania is right up there too. As for songs, I go for Nuclear Winter number 3 and Christ Passion number 2, and for number 1, Persecution Mania. That song is just so killer. As for rating, I will give it a 9 out of 10 due to the Iron Fist.
Cool.
Now, Destruction. I love Infernal Overkill. I love the second record. I love that last album they just released, Diabolical. It's
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
a good album.
Yeah, fantastic. As for release for Agony, they have such cool artwork on the 2 first albums, and then they have the artwork for this third one. I'm like, I don't know. I don't find the artwork. Hansi, do you know the story behind the artwork choice of this album?
I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say that they were trying to get away a little bit from what they were doing and trying to be a little bit more the spacey kind of, like having a little bit of different. I'm not 100% sure. You would have to ask Schmier himself if he actually wants to answer that question.
Okay. Because I know Schmier did come up with the idea for the Butcher around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
As for songs for release from Agony, I will go with Sign of Fear as number 3. It's a fantastic album, song. I mean, it's just, it has so much mood. It has that Middle Eastern vibe to it, and then you have the really heavy parts of it. It's kind of like opus, like a epic song, really. For number 2, I will go with Dissatisfied Existence. Killer track. And for number 1, Unconscious Ruins, the nuclear feel there too. I guess it has to do about nuclear war too. As for ranking it, I will give it a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I love it. I love Destruction. So if I go to the store with just one album to get out of the store, it will be Destruction.
Awesome. A vote for Destruction. If Smear's watching.
Yeah.
Cool. Andrew, I guess it's your turn. You're up at bat. You ready to rock?
All right.
Andrew, you're
So,
breaking up really bad.
Let me get my vinyls.
Yeah, hopefully your signal.
I'll first go in the order of everyone else. So, can you hear me?
Yep.
Are you guys hearing him okay?
He's breaking
Yeah.
up.
It's breaking
You're
up.
breaking up really bad, Andrew.
It's auto tuning.
Yeah. Good one, Hansi.
Let me then. I'm pretty sure you could edit this out later.
Okay. So I guess he's gonna bail out because he's having problems. So I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
My turn. So I gotta flip my notes over. I wasn't prepared yet, but here I am. So talking about Kreator Terrible Certainty. my little story about Kreator is to do with Extreme Aggression tour. I actually had Kreator at my store to do an in-store in that tour. And we had them at a place called the Rock Palace, and they were not used to playing such a small club, and they showed up. And the people that set up the Rock Palace, and I had given them everything because I was booking the bands there at the time. I told them what the Kreator needed, and I didn't have what Kreator wanted. It was kind of an ugly mess, but the show went on. It was quite memorable and historic here in town. It was Kreator and Coroner on the road, and they played in this little small place in Middletown, New York. If you're from the area, it's like the B Tavern now. It used to be the Rock Palace in the 80s. It was a short-lived club, but we had a lot of great bands there. And Kreator actually saw the place and didn't have what the demands they wanted, and we're loading up and heading out. And I don't know what happened between the club owner and them, but they did stay and play. We did an in-store with Kreator at Rock Fantasy, and Coroner were there too. And one of my memories from that night is playing foosball with Frank Blackfire. We played some foosball at the bar, so it was a lot of fun. And my tracks from Kreator would be the title track, Toxic Trace, and I'll go with Behind the Mirror for my top 3 songs off that album. I'm gonna give that album a strong 9, I would say. It's been a little while since I've listened to the whole album before this week, but I'm a big Kreator fan. And by the way, Kreator fans that are out there, there's a brand new album dropping this week.
Yeah.
The Hey Uber Alice comes out on Friday. So I'm anxious to check that out. I'll have that here in the shop if people are local, if they want to come pick it up.
I will
The
be
vinyl and CD. And going over to Sodom.
Hey, Steve, can
My
I jump
3.
in on that really quick about that Kreator show really quick?
What's that? Go ahead.
I was at Rock Fantasy for the in-store.
Yeah.
And I got my Extreme Aggression poster autographed by everybody. And they needed a roadie for the night. And me and Yench ended up getting the roadie for them.
Wow.
And we moved like 2 cabinets into the club, and then we said, what do you want? And they said cocaine. So we made a few calls and we tried to hook them guys up, but they hated the New York prices at the time. And then we said, hey, we got some real killer bud. So we got to go on the bus, and we partied up with Corner and Kreator, and we smoked them up and hanging out. Blackfire didn't barely even speak English, but it was great. I remember they played us the new Voivod at the time, but it had no vocals to it, which was, I think, Nothing Face was coming out. And it was just one of the most memorable nights ever for me. I remember they were really pissed that there was no stage there. They come all the way over from Europe, and they're playing a club with no stage, and that really pissed them off, and that's why they wanted to leave. But yeah, that was one of the best in-stores at Rock Fantasy ever. I just wanted to jump in on that.
And of course they were playing much bigger venues. In fact, a night or 2 after, I think we saw them or before up at Toad's place, and they were used to playing bigger places. And I don't know what happened, how they ended up there, but it was great that it happened that night. And it was such a memorable concert for us local people.
Oh yeah, and I got 2 shirts from that show too. I got this one and this one. It's actually both from that Rock Fantasy, the Rock Palace show.
Dude, that's amazing that you still have those shirts. And it's even more amazing that Ralph can fit in some of these shirts from then. I can't fit in any shirt that I had in '89.
I got to show this one from that Destruction.
Ooh, hello.
Yeah, I got that one.
Nice.
I had a black t-shirt with that on it.
Huh.
This one was from the
Nice.
Streets, when they played the Streets. I got that one.
Oh, that was a wild show.
This is the shirt I probably wore at that show, but it's my original Eternal Devastation shirt.
Mhm.
Nice.
Right. Sorry.
Cool. So I guess my 3 songs from the Sodom album would be Nuclear Winter, the title track, Persecution Mania. I really like Conjuration too.
Nice.
Everyone said about everything you can say about that album, so I don't need to add much. It's a really strong, I mean, between that and the Kreator, it's been back and forth in my head all week, like a couple of you guys said. And Destruction, the Release From Agony track is my favorite from the album. I like Our Oppression. I think it's kind of weird when it starts at the beginning, but I dig that a lot. And Dissatisfied Resistance will be my 3rd song from that. Resistance, right? Yeah. So,
Existence.
I can only hear echoes. so.
Existence, not resistance.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm reading it in the dark here, so, yeah, so anyhow, those are my 3 songs from Destruction. And if I'm picking one album, I'm gonna go with Kreator. No offense to the other albums, 'cause I love all of them, but I got, that's part of the rules. I'm gonna pick the Kreator and Violent Revolution. And somebody said it was for the album cover. Yeah, the album cover is awesome. So, but I still dig it when they still use that on some shirts. They were using it on a shirt I had not too long ago that we were selling in the store. So I got some of their, after tour stock from, it was JSR at the time, and I forget what design, what tour they were pushing. It was something that had that on the, had that guy on the cover. But anyhow, as I tongue twist, I'm going with Kreator. Hey, Andrew, have you fixed that up a little bit? You think you can come through, or having two problems?
I know. You have to let me know on that, because like I can't like exactly.
I can hear
check
you
on my
now,
connection and-
so let's try it. So start off with Kreator, Andrew.
All right, let's start off. So
You know what, Andrew, you're really
obviously.
breaking up again.
Breaking up now.
Going to have. Hold up.
Hey, you know what I'm gonna do with you,
House,
Andrew?
that's
How about,
Probably why, because like
you're just breaking up too much. I'm gonna have Andrew just comment in the comment section and put his vote and stuff in there, and we'll try to get him a better system. I know he was trying to come up with a microphone and something, but it seems like he's really having internet issues, if anything. But sorry about that, everyone.
No, I got it. I just gotta go to a different part of the house. That's
Okay.
all.
I can hear you.
Well, while you're doing that, I want to talk to Hansi for a second. Hansi, what's going on in your world there? Do you got anything going on with your band?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for asking. We actually in the studio right now recording our full length first record, and it's going amazing. We have a great producer. We've been in there for a few weeks now, and there's going to be some big names on this record. I got John Gallagher from Raven on the album.
Oh,
I got a few others, that I don't want to mention right now until the album actually is coming out. But there's going to be quite a few guests on there, and the new songs we wrote. Man, if you like old Motorhead meets GBH meets old Iron Maiden, you're gonna love this stuff, man. It's gonna blow you away. Also,
That sounds nice.
We also opening for Raven. For Anvil. We're playing with Anvil, and that's gonna be fun. We have a lot of big shows coming up that we're booking, and we're gonna do some more announcements I can't do right now because they're not really set in stone yet, but they will happen. So there will be lots of Filthhound news coming up, and I sent you a copy of the record when it comes out. If you're gonna love it, man, I guarantee you. It's gonna blow you away, man.
Oh,
cool. All right, so Andrew, you get one more try before we. Andrew, you still locking up? Yeah, you're locking up still. Andrew, what I'm gonna do with you is just go into the comment section when we put this up and give me your picks that way, and we'll try to get you something better for
still
next
locking
time.
up.
Yeah, you're locked up. So
Shit.
we're just gonna have to move along, and we'll work on you for next time, and we'll put your comments. We'll put your picks in the comment section. Should text them to me, okay?
All right.
Ed, so what's going on with you? You got a big bash in New York City coming up in 2 weeks.
yeah, I do. 2 weeks, June 17th and 18th at the Brooklyn Monarch. 2 nights of the Rage of Armageddon 6 Festival. We got about 20 bands playing over the 2 days, including Aggression, who headliner Friday night. They're doing a 35th anniversary treatment set. Deceased, they're doing the Fearless Undead Machine albums from start to finish. Second time only they've ever done that for that 25th anniversary. I also have Bat, I have The Accused AD, I have Death Thrash, Sacrificial Blood, Anthropic, Overdose, and Dimension all on Friday. Saturday night, headliner is Impaler,
Nice.
doing 35th anniversary combat record set for the first 2 records and a whole bunch of songs. And they're doing an extended set with a whole bunch of material, bringing out, they're going to be bringing out as many stage props and different things, different little toys that they have that they can fit on the plane. That's going to be a lot.
Yeah, he was saying that. Yeah.
That's going to be great. Also, Blood Feast. They're singing. They're going to be playing with the original singer Gary. Only the second time they've done that since way back in the day. They just played MDF with Gary, and it sounded absolutely phenomenal. So I'm really looking forward to that. Also, Heretic and Resistance from California, Aries Kingdom from St. Louis, Caligula, Queen's Band, doing a reunion after 35 years. Busted my ass to get that band together, kept bugging them, and they got together 4 original guys. They're even writing new material, so that's going to be really exciting. Also, Wrath, Wretch, Eviction from Pittsburgh, another band from way back in the 80s reunion.
I
Original
remember them.
metalcore. That's going to be sick. And opening will be Telok Voven, black metal from Long Island. It's going to be a great weekend. You got tickets on sale. Tickets are $50 a day, $75 for the 2 days. I'm right now offering a deal if you want to hit me up personally for $40 a day or $65 for the 2 days.
Cool.
Pushing that online. Tickets are going well. It's at a really big place. I got vendors there. They sell food there. So it's going to be one hell of a weekend.
I wish you all the luck in the world. And we're going to actually be doing another episode on this festival tomorrow night. So it's going to be the next thing that comes out on the channel. So
I'll see you on the Friday night, Ed. I'll be there for the Friday night show.
Excellent. Cool.
So I guess as I look over my notes, we've got 3 votes for Kreator, 3 votes for Sodom, if I can still do math, and 1 vote for Destruction.
Andrew has to put down his votes.
And then when we get Andrew's pick, this Andrew isn't working. Let me see.
I can't hear you, Andrew.
No, his thing is, hey, Andrew, can you hear us?
I can hear you very fine.
Now
now
you can
you're
hear us. What?
Now we can hear you.
How about, let's try it right now. Tell us about Kreator, and you're going to be the tiebreaker here, possibly.
All right, so Kreator is my least favorite out of the 3. I think they lost some of the aggression and unique kind of riffing with this. I'm not a fan of stuff like Toxic Trace. That's kind of my least favorite of this of the songs. If I had to pick 3 songs, it would be Blind Faith, because it reminds me of Over the Wall by Testament. There's a lot of Bay Area stuff going on there. Storming with Madness and No Escape.
Nice.
Also, I just don't really like the drumming on that album. It's very sloppy, and it kind of makes me, just takes me off a little bit that it's the same drummer from like the first 2 albums, which the drumming on those albums are amazing, just like great stuff. And Extreme Aggression and Coma of Souls is better. To me, Coma of Souls is the last good Kreator album. Okay. So Sodom Persecution Mania, fantastic record. I don't mind the Iron Maiden cover, not the Iron Maiden, Motorhead cover. Any bit, it's a great cover, and I think it fits perfectly on the album. I think the EP that came after is just equally as great, but we're talking about Prosecution Mania. There's a lot of more atmospheric experimentation, like on what was it? Precision to Golgotha, that's great, as well as Enchanted Land and Nuclear Winter, especially with that mid part that's like really atmospheric.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a bit more technicality here, like on stuff like Electrocution, because of Frank Blackfire. So that always gets a plus from me. I would have to give this album a 9 out of 10. And if I had to pick 3 songs from it, it would be Nuclear Winter is my number 1 song. Man, this is hard. But Nuclear Winter, Enchanted Land, and Prosecution Mania, the title track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I wanted to go last was because I wanted to hear everyone's opinion on Destruction, and I kind of expected that like it would be mixed because everyone's all about Eternal Devastation and Infernal Overkill.
Mm-hmm.
But however, I'm all about Release from Agony, and if anything, this is my second, if not my favorite thrash album of all time, only rival
Wow.
by Hello Waits.
Wow.
And the reason for that is because of, I think the technicality makes this album, like, it never sounds lost. It never sounds like confused. It always sounds on track, and they make some pretty catchy melodies out of it, as well as experiment in some atmospherics, like on Sign of Fear. Like Ove said, it kind of creates this emotion, like almost like a paranoid, schizophrenic kind of mood, especially like in the midsection where like kind of goes with the acoustic guitars and just bounces all over the place with fucking leads and all that kind of stuff. I love the leads on this record. Like Mike Schiffinger is like my favorite thrash metal guitarist from Germany, just because I think that he perfected it on this record. And stuff like Our Oppression and Sign of Fear and Unconscious Ruins kind of proves that. That's my top 3 songs, by the way.
Okay.
Just with how just unhinged he sounds and how
Cool.
just beefy the riffs are
Mhm.
on here.
And Andrew, so I guess you kind of answered our question. Which album are you going to buy if you can only buy one?
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone saw the poster in my room, but Release from Agony.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we've still got a tie between Kreator and Sodom, and Destruction closed right into 2. So our viewers are gonna have to settle this battle out in the comments. So please,
I think that's the first time.
that's the first time we ever had a tie. We've had tie breakers where one last guy got to go, but that just shows how great all 3 of these records are, with all these different minds and different generations have come on and just picked different, everybody's ears are different and everybody's got a favorite. And I'd like to thank
Cool.
everybody for giving their time to the channel tonight. And I think this was a fun episode. And
I did
It
want to
really was.
I
Go
did
ahead.
want to say I wanted to add that all 3 of these bands are still functioning bands.
oh
I
yeah,
don't think I don't think any of them ever really broke up. They just maybe were inactive for a few years, but they kept going through
Mhm.
all the different changes and musical styles. And some of the bands, I mean, like Kreator did change their style for a little bit, but they had various member changes. And
sure.
Frank Blackfire jumped from Sodom into Destruction for a few years as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, Kreator.
I mean, Kreator for a few years.
That
Frank
was
Black-
in Kreator.
But yeah, he jumped into Kreator for a few years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what did he come in on the Extreme Aggression tour? Is that what it was?
Oh, this is a good story, because actually Sodom was supposed to go on tour with Frank Blackfire, and 3 weeks before they were going on that European tour, he actually quit the band and was going to tour with Kreator in the United States.
Hmm.
So there was a little bit of riffraff there for a while, because in the 2 camps of the bands because of that. But now they're all good and everything is fine. When Blackfire is back in with Sodom anyway, so
Mhm.
anyway,
Yeah,
but
that
yeah,
album was fantastic.
Yeah.
Sodom's most recent album is fantastic. Destruction's new album is freaking, man. I was listening to that album like last week and it was fucking killer. And I'm looking
Yep.
forward to
Great.
Kreator. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a
On
great
Friday.
album.
One
It's
thing I
good.
would like to add about Kreator is that a lot of their late 90s material, including Terrible Certainty, has a huge influence on melodic death metal, which to me is a
That's
kind of a
true.
win-lose kind of situation, because we have stuff like, the early In Flames stuff, not the shitty Siren Charms, In Battles like In Flames, like Lunar Strain, Just Erased, Colony In Flames,
Mhm.
as well as Slaughter Saw of the Gates, but there's also like garbage like Killswitch Engage.
Uh-uh. Yeah.
So it's a win-lose situation.
Mhm.
Bad thing about Sodom is that they never did like real tours of America. they played the US like less than 10 times.
Wow.
And luckily for us we got to see them up at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, and I know they played BB King's like the day before, but they only played like 3 or 4 shows on that run. They played with Fintroll.
Yeah, I was there.
And I think
I never got a chance to see Sodom. I've seen Kreator 4 or 5 times and Destruction a few times.
Probably never played North Carolina. I doubt they ever came down that way. They've never really done like a real US tour for some reason.
I've been lucky in the city. I've seen them a few times, and of course, the Milwaukee Metal Fest. I went out for that.
Milwaukee Metal Fest. Wow, yeah.
The Destruction, didn't they tour with Motorhead for release From Agony, or?
No, they toured with the Crowman,
The
New York
Crowman.
hardcore.
Yeah.
Okay, Crowbites. Okay.
Well,
It's
anyhow.
great. It's great. They're all still going,
Yeah, absolutely.
carrying the legacies.
Yeah.
And yeah, doing well, you know. I
They're on track.
actually
It's
like
all
the
the way to
later
go.
Kreator stuff. I know a lot of the purists don't dig the later Kreator stuff, but I do like,
I love it.
I do
I
like
like
their,
some of it.
I know Andy's
Production
one
kind
of
of
the
throws
guys.
me off, but I like some of it. It's pretty good stuff.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah,
I've seen
Colorless Skulls was,
Kreator
like,
and
the last one I
Destruction
cared
so
for.
many times, and I've only seen Sodom once or twice, like Ralph said. They don't come around like those other 2 alts do in the States anyhow. But like to thank everybody for giving their time to the channel tonight, and we'll be back next week. And I don't even know what the subject is next week, but I know it's something in the heavy metal realm. I think it's a Tony Dio set that up. I think it's Iron Maiden, Fear of the Dark going up against
It's
Yeah,
Kiss
nice.
Revenge, which is a kind of a weird matchup. But
different,
it's
little bit different genres, but
yeah,
something
it's
cool. With
1992.
1992. Yeah.
So anniversary editions again, and we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about what we're listening to so far in the year of 2022. We're going to each pick like 5 albums that we're digging from this year, and we're going to be back on that. That should be a fun episode. Might have to break that
Absolutely.
into 2 parts. We have so many people wanting to do that.
Yeah, true.
But anyhow, you guys stay heavy, stay safe out there, and see you next week. And please, you guys are the tiebreaker, the viewers. So please comment what your favorite album of these 3 are and what you like about these albums, what you don't
Persecution
like
Mania, Sodom.
in the comments.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys.